What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and today I'm going to be proving to you guys once and for all that the loss of Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow was far from a death sentence. We're going to be bringing you a couple of 1-card combos as well as some 2-card combos for Super Heavy Samurai post the May, or I guess technically June, 2023 ban list. Alright, so starting things off with our first 1-card combo, it is going to be Wakaushi, but obviously you can also replace this for something like the Motorbike, and it'll just slightly change what you search because you're not going to have to search the Motorbike, but let's go ahead and show you guys how it works. So we're going to start things off by activating the Wakaushi in our scale and using its effect to place the Big Benki in the other scale and summon itself out. Here we're going to use the Big Benki effect, which is going to allow us to add a copy of Soul Piercer from our deck to our hand, which we can then go ahead and normal summon. Now, typically here you would go into something like the Excel Synchron, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and link these two off. We're going to just put this to the side for now because we've got stuff stacked on top of the extra deck, and we're actually going to go into our Tilting Entrainment, which is the new card that people are playing, and that's going to allow us to activate Tilting Entrainment as Chainlink 1, and Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer as Chainlink 2. We're not going to be using the Wakaushi because the Tilting Entrainment is going to be special summoning it back. So here the effect of the Soul Piercer is going to go ahead and add us our Motorbike, and the Tilting Entrainment is going to go ahead and summon the Wakaushi out. Now, since it was technically in the extra deck, it has to go to the extra zone. Here we're going to use the Motorbike, discarding it from our hand to add us our copy of Soul Peacemaker, which we can then immediately activate on the Wakaushi and use its effect, tributing the Wakaushi. Again, it goes back to the extra deck. This is going to summon out our Super Heavy Samurai Scales. Here the Super Heavy Samurai Scales is going to activate, which will of course resummon out our copy of Soul Piercer, and what we can do next is take the Soul Piercer and the Scales, and we're going to go ahead and link those into a copy of Ancient Gear Ballista. Now, Ancient Gear Ballista here, we are going to go ahead and activate as Chainlink 1 with Soul Piercer as Chainlink 2. This is going to allow the Soul Piercer to add us our copy of Wakaushi because we need another Pendulum Scale here, and the Ancient Gear Ballista is going to add us our copy of Ancient Gear Box. Ancient Gear Box will activate since it was added to hand. This will add us our copy of Tunneler, and then we're going to take the Ballista and the Tilting Entrainment, and we're going to go ahead and link those into our copy of Cleafort Genius. Here we're going to activate the Wakaushi that we just added now that we have our full scales and we can pen summon 3. We're going to pen summon the Wakaushi from the extra deck because it has to be to one of the zones pointed to, the Infinitrack Tunneler, and the Ancient Gear Box, and this is of course going to activate the Cleafort Genius to then add us our copy of Regulus. Here what we can do is we can go ahead and activate the Regulus, which is going to target the Soul Piercer in the graveyard, and that is going to allow us to now have an Omni Negate on board. Then we can use the Wakaushi and the Gearbox. We're going to go ahead and put the Wakaushi in the extra deck, and that's going to go into our copy of Excel. We're going to have to proxy the Excel here because I lent it to a friend for YCS Philly, and I haven't seen him yet to get it back. So then the Excel is going to activate on summon, and we are going to be able to reborn out our Motorbike. Here we can use the Excel and the Motorbike, and this is of course going to allow us to synchro into our Baron. We can use the Baron now to go ahead and pop the Soul Piercer, which will let us get another Soul Piercer adding us our copy of Stealthy. We can then special summon our Stealthy, and using the Genius, the Stealthy, and the Tunneler, we can go ahead and link into a 3-material Appaloosa. So now, off of just one card being either the Wakaushi or the Motorbike, we ended on 2 Omni Negates with 3 Monster Negates. We still have 4 cards in our hand, which we can potentially make 6 if we want to activate the Infinitrack Tunneler. Personally, I like to wait on the Tunneler, that way I can put the Regulus back on the next turn, but if you don't have any hand traps or anything like that, it's probably worth digging for some, just so that you have more interruptions, but that is going to be the first 1-card combo. Alright guys, so for combo number 2, we are going to show you another 1-card combo with just a Super Heavy Samurai Wagon. This is somewhat interchangeable with the Motorbike, and that will just change the sequencing of your searching in the middle of the combo, but I'm sure you guys will be able to figure that out. It's relatively straightforward. Let's show you guys how this one is going to get us into the exact same end board as the Wakaushi did. We're going to go ahead and start by normal summoning out the copy of Wagon, and then its effect will change itself to Defense. Now that it's in defense, we can go ahead and use its effect to put it to attack and search for a Super Heavy Soul. We're going to go ahead and search for Soul Gaia Booster. Soul Gaia Booster has the effect that it can equip itself to a Super Heavy Samurai, which we are going to do, and then once it is equipped, once per turn, we can go ahead and special summon it, which we will also do. Now we can take the Soul Gaia Booster and the Wagon, and we're going to go ahead and overlay these into our copy of Gear Gigant X, which we can then use the Gear Gigant X effect, detaching either material, does not matter which one, to add us our copy of Wakaushi. Here we can go ahead and scale our Wakaushi and activate its effect, which is going to play the Big Benki from our deck and summon itself to our side of the field, and now we can use the Big Benki effect to add for a Super Heavy Soul. Here we're going to have to add the Soul Peacemaker because we already used our normal summon, meaning we can't get the Soul Piercer because we would have no way of putting it on board, but thankfully the Peacemaker will be able to do that for us. We're going to equip the Peacemaker to the Wakaushi and use its effect, tributing off the Wakaushi to summon our copy of Peacemaker or Piercer from the deck. Here we're going to take the Piercer and the Gear Gigant X, and this is going to allow us to link into our copy of Ancient Gear Ballista, which we will then activate as Chainlink 1 with the Soul Piercer as Chainlink 2. So Soul Piercer is going to add us our motorbike, while the Ballista adds us the Ancient Gear box. And now you might be thinking that we don't have a pendulum scale, but thankfully Ancient Gear box is going to activate, which can add us our copy of General Coral, which just so happens to meet the criteria required for the Ancient Gear box search. So now that this is a scale 8, which is exactly what we're missing, we can go ahead and scale it, but before we pendulum summon, we want to use the effect of the motorbike, discarding itself to add us our copy of Scales, since we weren't able to summon it off of the Peacemaker this turn. Now that we have our Scales and everything set up, we can go ahead and pen summon. We're going to summon out the Wakaushi, the Scales, and the Gearbox. This, of course, is going to activate the Scales, which will allow us to get our Soul Piercer from our graveyard, and we are going to go ahead and synchro the Soul Piercer and the Wakaushi into our copy of Excel Synchron. Remember, I'm lending this to a friend, haven't gotten it back yet, so just pretend that this is the Excel Synchro. We're going to go Excel Chainlink 1 and then the Soul Piercer as Chainlink 2. Soul Piercer is going to go ahead and add us our copy of Stealthy, and the Excel Synchro is of course going to resummon out our motorbike. With the motorbike and the Excel, we can go ahead and link these, or synchro these off into our copy of Baron de Fleur. And now, since we weren't able to go for the Genius route of play, we can still get our Therion by overlaying the Scales and the box into our copy of Merrymaker, and then on top of the Merrymaker, of course, going into Sargus. Here the Sargus is going to activate, which is going to add us our copy of Regulus, which we can then summon by targeting out the Soul Piercer in our graveyard and attaching it. Now, typically you'd pop it with the Baron, but we don't have to because we already have the Stealthy, so we're just going to go ahead and leave it on field for now. We're going to go ahead and special summon out our Stealthy, and then using the Ballista, the Stealthy, and the Sargus, we're going to go ahead and link for a 3-material Appaloosa. So off of one card, we ended on the exact same board that we did off of the Wakaushi. We have 3 Monster Negates and 2 Omni Negates, plus 4 cards in our hand, and if those aren't hand traps, unfortunately we don't have the Tunneler in this route because we had to go for the Coral, but you still have 4 cards in hand with 5 negates. Alright guys, so for our third and final combo, we are going to be showing you what you can do with Soul Piercer and Soul Peacemaker. This is one of the many 2-card combos that the deck has to offer, and with the loss of Scarecrow, we are playing Peacemaker at 3 because I think it's important to max out on extenders, so your chances of seeing this are relatively high. Let's go ahead and show you guys how it works. What we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and summon out the Soul Piercer, and then use the Peacemaker to equip itself and use its on-field effect to tribute the Peacemaker or the Piercer to summon out our Scales. This is going to activate Scales as Chainlink 1, targeting the Piercer, and Piercer as Chainlink 2 to add. We are going to add our Motorbike and resummon out our Piercer. Here we can activate the Motorbike, discarding it and adding us our copy of Wakaushi, which we can then go ahead and activate in our scale. Using the effect of Wakaushi, we are going to place the Big Benki in our other zone, and then summon itself out, and this will allow us to then use the Big Benki to add us our copy of Soul Piercer. Before going any further, we're going to use the Wakaushi and the Piercer to Synchro Summon into our copy of Excel Synchro. Again, I'm lending it to a friend, so we're just going to have to use our imagination here. This is going to activate Excel as Chainlink 1, Piercer as Chainlink 2, and Wakaushi as Chainlink 3. Wakaushi is going to rescale itself, the Piercer is going to add us our copy of Stealthy, and then the Excel Synchro, of course, is going to reborn out our Motorbike. We can then use the Motorbike and the Excel to make our copy of Baron de Fleur, and now we're ready to continue. we can go ahead and equip the Soul Gaia booster to our scales and then use its effect to summon itself out. And then here what we can do is, using the Gaia booster and the scales, we're going to go ahead and link into our copy of Ancient Gear Ballista. Ballista will activate on summon, same as always, adding us our copy of Gearbox, and then we can go ahead and add our copy of Tunneler as well. Here what we want to do is we want to go ahead and special summon out our Stealthy and use the Stealthy and the Ballista to go into our copy of Cleafort Genius, and now we're ready to Pendulum Summon. So we're going to go ahead and Pendulum Summon out our Box and our Tunneler. This is of course going to activate the Genius to search us for our copy of Regulus, which we can go ahead and then summon by targeting out the Piercer and equipping it. Now, typically, you would see here you can just end on the same board, turning these three into a 3-material Appaloosa and ending on 2 negates plus an Appaloosa, but I do want to shout out Tombox for this next part because I don't know if I would have thought of this on my own, so we're going to go ahead and show you guys the alternate route if you would like to do it. So we're going to use the Baron and pop the Soul Piercer. This is, of course, going to let us add another copy of Wakaushi. Now, you might be asking why we're doing this. We don't really have any summons left, but we actually do. We're going to go ahead and take the Tunneler and the Genius, and we are going to link those off into a copy of Platinum Gadget. Platinum Gadget will of course then allow us to special summon out a machine from our hand, and we can take the Wakaushi and the Gearbox, and we will go ahead and synchro those off into a copy of Borreload Savage Dragon. Borreload Savage Dragon is then of course going to be able to equip the Cleafort Genius, so now instead of 2 Omni Negates and 3 Monster Negates, we have 3 Omni Negates, which could potentially be more impactful. Not to mention there are 3 cards left in our hand. You can bump that up to 5 if you want to dig for hand traps, because we have the Tunneler, and yeah, that is going to be the third combo. And there you guys have it. That is 3 must-know Super Heavy Samurai combos for the June 2023 ban list. I told you guys that Scarecrow being banned was not a death sentence for this deck. Those are just 3 of the many combos, so if you guys want more combos, make sure that you smash the hell out of that like button. That will tell me that you guys want to see more, because even though I pretty much showed you all of the 1-card combos that currently exist, there are a plethora of 2 or maybe even 3-card combos which are still relatively consistent in their own right, so you guys know the deal. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends, maybe consider supporting me on Patreon. Don't forget to check out Dueling Guard and use my code for 5% off your entire purchase. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.